Camera's rolling. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Tax Committee, Planning and Zoning Committee. Today is December 5th, 2023. The time is 9:39. Go ahead and roll call.
Alvin? Yes. Geiger?
Yes.
Hughes?
Yes.
Whitlow?
Yes.
Dupont?
Yes. Everybody's had a chance to look at the agenda.
I'd like to suggest we change the order of the agenda and move the discussion on planning and zoning of the central body repair up ahead of the county clerks.
Do I have a second for that?
Second.
Roll call, or you want just all, everybody said, I'm sorry. All right. Everybody approved?
Aye.
All right, I'll pass the motion. All right, we'll go ahead and go right into the claims. What do you got for claims? Anyone make a motion for that? Do I get a second?
Also moved. Who did it?
All right, we got Doug and we got Barb. No roll call?
Alvin? Yes. Geiger?
Yes.
Hughes?
Yes.
Whitlow?
Yes.
Ducat?
Yep. Any public comments? No public comments. All right, we'll move on to reports from the departments, and we decided to move planning and zoning up first. So we'll do discussion and action to consideration for the application of Mark and Kyle Balzar for the conditional use of a towing company on the property located at section 20, Ashcombe Township, 28 North, Route 14 West of 2nd PM.
It's not actually a towing company, it's towing storage.
They're gonna park their trucks there though. So, right, you're gonna park your trucks there, aren't you?
What's that?
You're gonna park your records there, aren't you?
Eventually, yes, yeah.
What's it zoned in right now?
It's zoned ag.
And then it's gonna switch over to,
Eventually, whenever they, it will wind up going to commercial, but they're just using it for, the plan right now is to use for overflow storage, is my understanding. And, the building that's there is just called storage. So it's really not set up for a business, and when that day comes, then yes, it should be
you'll have to change it again,
changed to commercial.
and you're happy with that?
What's that?
Yeah,
You're happy with
Yeah,
this
that's all.
step?
yeah, for
Yeah.
now, we were just doing this to get it where we could park stuff there, and then once all this went through, we were gonna work on getting it fully commercial.
Yeah.
Is that another big process or not really?
Yeah.
Okay.
We're hoping in 3-4 years, if everything goes good, to put a building up where we keep our tow trucks inside and then down there
Sure.
and stuff and everything, so is our plan right now, so.
I've been by it, I don't see any issues.
I'm just surprised how they put a building up,
Gotcha.
so.
We have farm buildings everywhere, so
But didn't they
I,
go to ZBA to do that or not?
no, that's just a building permit to put up a farm building.
Oh, then,
They have hayfield back behind
right, okay.
the building.
Yeah, I have like my tractors.
Oh,
and
no,
stuff
no
and
problem.
everything.
I just
Yeah,
was
we
thinking
put
of
it up
other
as a,
situations where somebody wanted to put up a farm building and they had to go through the zoning of
Oh,
the ZBA for the
There
farm
There was,
building.
they probably needed to have it rezoned for something, is why it went to ZBA on the past experiences.
Right, okay, thank you.
yeah, we just put it up as an ag building, so.
I went to the ZBA meeting and they did a nice chat and discussion presentation, so. And you've looked
And
at
I'm
the
sure,
property.
yeah, I've looked at it, I've been by it. I actually spoke to the road commissioner through an email, and it actually stated that they've actually got down, what do you put, like pads or whatever underneath for oil and
yeah, we
fuel.
put like
Yeah,
a mat down under the whole thing and then a foot of gravel on top of it, so it wasn't a cheap lot, but it's the right way to do one, yep,
so
so.
the nice thing is you're right next to the interstate, which you're gonna get all your records from, I guess I'll say.
Yeah, oh yeah. We needed a wide road that was an 80,000 pound road, and
Well,
that's
that new
80,000
record
pound.
you got, you're gonna need a.
Yeah, it takes a lot of turning, yeah, but that'll put us a culvert in, 100 foot, so that way we get off, we kept the fence back so we could be off the road, and it just kind of tried to think ahead a little bit, you know.
Don't see any problem with it.
Just need to make a,
I'll make a motion.
for consideration
Second.
for conditional use.
Yes. Geiger,
Yes.
Hughes.
Yes.
Whitlow.
Yes.
Ducat.
You're good, gentlemen.
We're good?
Yes,
Mrs.
thank
Marty.
you.
Appreciate you moving to the top here, so.
You bet. Thank you for your time.
Full board meeting is a week from today at 9 AM.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. Okay, I don't see any issues.
Yeah, I don't either, but stranger things.
Oh, you gotta do it, so yeah, all right. Thanks, guys, appreciate it.
Thank you, have a good
Probably
day.
won't be moved to the front.
Later.
What?
Probably won't be moved to the front.
No, that's.
No, it won't move to the front of the meeting
I'd
Tuesday.
rather bring coffee and donuts.
Yeah.
All right, we'll move on to the county clerk's report, please.
Sure, so we finished up filing yesterday. We do not have any Democrat candidates running for county board, county clerk, coroner, state's attorney. There is almost a full slate of Republican candidates, however, District 4 County Board only has one candidate running, so that will be an issue at some point in time, getting that filled as far as if it is done by the party, if it's done by a write-in candidate, if it's done by an independent or the Democrat Party. There are 2 Democratic Precinct Committee people that filed, so that's one more than last time, so that's promising. And then we do have quite a few Republican Precinct Committee people that filed, so I have those lists available if anyone's interested in seeing them, or they'll be in my office. This time of year, I always talk about the taxing bodies bringing their levies and budgets and everything into us. We are sending reminder letters out, actually we did that yesterday, just to all the taxing bodies that we haven't received something from. As a reminder, this has to be in by the levy has to be in by the last Tuesday of December, otherwise they may not get any money from us. Then statement of economic interest lists will be going out to taxing body clerks at the beginning of January. That is to obtain the list of persons that are required to file a statement of economic interest from each of the taxing bodies. Then in March, we'll send out those pretty yellow sheets. Other than that, we're just gonna start working on ballot and getting everything certified from the state and things like that. So there's an objection period that candidates can have their petitions objected to through next Monday. So we have to hold off on declaring if someone is actually on the ballot until after that. And then there's also a withdrawal of candidacy period. But right now, like I said, the filings that we have, anyone can come in and look at the list, or if you wanna see the list today, I have it here. That's about it.
Any questions, anybody? How'd your presentation go?
Oh, I forgot about that. I talked for 10 hours straight, and whoever the idiot was that scheduled it, which I'll take the blame, didn't give themselves a break. So I had it open from 9 AM to 7 PM. Election judges cycled in and out, township supervisors came in, and it was a full 10 hours of going over the devices. There was a lot of the judges were excited about it. We did have some that were not so excited. I hope that that doesn't deter them from wanting to be an election judge, because it's not their entire job as far as knowing those devices. There's so many other things that they have to do during the day that maybe someone else could pick up the slack and that sort of thing at a particular precinct. But overall, it went well, I think. I think that the judges were excited about some of the features on the devices and things like that, so, yeah, it was good.
Anyone else besides myself want to ask some questions? All right, we'll move on. Thank you. Mr. Kirk?
We are having our tax sale on Thursday. We are down to approximately, I think, a little over 400 people going to the sale as of right now. Hopefully, the next 2 days, we have until tomorrow night by 4:30 to pay before we go to tax sale on Thursday. So hopefully we'll get that down, maybe another 40, 50 people. Then after that, then we're working on refunds, gonna get those out And then we'll be doing the final tax distribution in December. And like I said, I'll be having my sale on Thursday at 9 o'clock here in the boardroom. I think we have over 10 buyers listed, so, are coming to our sale, so that'll be good. So we'll have a lot of people who are eligible to buy taxes. And then John had a question for me the other day. He was checking on sales tax. And I did a little check. I went on Amazon and put in some different addresses. I didn't put John's in, but I put my address in, some addresses in Chicago here. And he was asking about whether Amazon was charging the 6.25% or 6.5% rate for Iroquois County. And the addresses I put in, yes, they were. At Watsika, they were doing over 7. Chicago was doing a 10% rate, which is, I think, about theirs. So, but he had a question on yours because it said they only charge you 6.25%.
That's on other firms other than Amazon.
Okay, so why they're not doing that, I called the Department of Revenue and he said it's listed on their website for Iroquois County, it should be 6.5. He said if we wanted to do an investigation, that would be up to us to try and contact these other taxing or, internet firms as to why they're not doing that. But he said it should be standard based upon the tax. He said, so if they're filing a tax return for Iroquois or for Illinois and they see Iroquois County, he said, if their system is not up to date and they're charging the less amount of tax, he said, they're gonna have to pay the difference in the tax. He said, so I don't know if they're not charging the right rate, he goes, I don't know what we can do, but he says, technically by law, they should be making up the difference, and he goes, and I can't see why they would not be charging the correct rate, because he says, I can't see any firm that would want to come in short on sales tax, because that would be an expense to them. So, but other than that, like I said, I only checked with Amazon, I didn't do anybody else. But so, he said, but according to the guy I talked to at the State Department of Revenue, we are listed correctly, so if anybody goes out and looks for Iroquois County, it should be the 6.5% should be our tax rate. Watsika 7 something, I don't know if it's 7% or 7.25%, something like that. So, but if that's based upon mailing, or if you don't have it shipped to this address, to your particular address, that's gonna be wherever the rate is, so.
I think the thing that can help us in that is that if everybody would check and see anytime you bought anything recently online, check and see what the percentage is for the sales tax that you were charged. 'Cause not everybody is charging 6.5%.
The question too is, does Springfield pay us based on the revenues they receive? Or do they pay us based on the sales that we
Well, they
generate?
pay us based upon whatever the tax return that's been sent to them. So if Amazon sends them a sheet that's, they get the 6.25%, and then he says, if it's going to Iroquois County, then we send you the 0.5% that's due to
It's
you.
based on revenues they pick up.
Right,
Okay, that's fine. Then
based upon the return and the information they got. So if, like I said, if that firm doesn't charge the right rate, he says, I don't know, he said, I don't know how you're gonna go back and look at somebody's return like that, but he says
they go up.
these big internet companies have, he said they have access to all this, so they should know what these taxing rates are.
Don't they perform sales tax audits then?
Well, the state would, but I don't know
Yeah.
if they're gonna fly out to, I presume they do, but
Right,
the way the state is, they're always 3 years behind on audits anyway.
sure.
And I don't know if they would do all them or not,
All right.
What are the percent would be significant?
I think if we uncovered enough evidence that things are being done incorrectly, we can proceed to try and get something done.
Agreed.
But like I said, the gentleman at the State Department of Revenue told me, he says, he looked it up for me and said, nope, Iroquois County is listed at 6.5.
But anytime you buy something online, you're gonna get a receipt of some kind from them. And check and see what they charge you for sales tax.
So other than that, I don't have any more, Paul.
Kurt, thank you so much. Any more questions for Kurt? All right, we'll move on to assessments. Mia?
So as you know, the RFPs are all in place and we'll be opening those later. as far as my EAVs that I sent to Jill back in the rate setting EAVs back in the beginning of November, those are still fairly accurate. The high number right now after equalization is about 7 million higher than this, based on we have 2 million, over 2 million of properties that have been assessed for the first time between commercial and residential. There is a large stack of appeals already in my office, and then once publications, the new assessment amounts go out and the publications are done on December 20th and 21st, I'm sure that number will double as far as people appealing. So that high number will come down is basically what I'm getting at, is that people will file appeals and some of them will be rightly due lower assessment amounts for various reasons. That will be determined by the Board of Review. Currently, we're a member down, but John and I both have found a person that's potentially interested that's of the Democratic Party. So I will be reaching out to them later this week to see which one. I kind of sent them the pay, what it involved. There is a course you have to take through Illinois Department of Revenue. And see which one of those two will be interested in doing it. If they commit to it by the end of the week, I don't know if that's soon enough to get them appointed at the board meeting. I'm not sure how that whole process works.
It would have to be by we post the agenda on Friday,
So by Friday, I would have to know. Okay, so best case scenario is one of them will decide to do it and we can get them appointed next week at the board meeting. With the levy, me talking about equalization, we have finished up doing that. So the publication dates for the two newspapers are December 20th and 21st. The Ford Chronicle is the 20th, the Gilman Star, and then the Advocate, CP News, and Times Republic will all publish on December 21st. So the deadline for filing an appeal will then be 30 days after that, so January 22nd will be the deadline for filing an appeal. I am still looking to meet with Jim Devine, hopefully before the end of the year, to discuss creating some type of intergovernmental agreement between the counties and townships that are choosing not to have a township assessor. We have 2 township assessors that are willing to contract with anybody to do the work. The issue comes to play because there's vacancies because their salary's set too low, the townships aren't wanting to pay somebody. Some of them have the mentality that it's the county's job to do it, which it is not. It's only our job to do it if they can't find somebody. So I'm gonna work with Jim to try to devise some type of agreement that says what we're gonna charge them if they choose not to get one. So it will be beneficial for them to get it on their own versus a charge that we're gonna come up with. I'm looking at, I have to do a little bit more of a study, but I'm looking at potentially a total of $80 per parcel. Data collection being approximately $45, and then data entry valuations being $35. So that would be a total of $80. Between mileage and just all the unknowns and not sure where we'd have to go and what they would take. I think that's all I have on this, unless anybody has any questions for me.
When will you know what's the date of knowing the evaluation?
Not till board review, so until we finish with the appeals on January 22nd, but that's every year. Every year there's always a potential for board review to bring values down.
It's just coming up with, I guess, does anybody know how that affects what we decide on evaluation purposes? Because if that number fluctuates, that's gonna affect our percentages.
Agree. I know what you're
You know what
doing.
I'm saying?
Yeah,
But.
Hence
you
why
know-
the high, medium, low has always kind of been given.
Yeah, but we can't do that. We gotta pick one number and go with that to make our decisions. So it really doesn't come into play, because we're just doing it for budgeting purposes.
right. And
So we can
after-
pick any number, right? And so if it turns out to be something else, it doesn't affect, truth in taxation, because we selected a number based on the guesstimate. That's how we moved forward. See what I'm saying?
I do.
Well, it'll come to play later if you'll please stay around.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
But I get what you're saying, because then we won't know what we talked about, if it's gonna be high, medium, or low.
Right.
Because all we're doing is just guessing on
This
this.
is for budget purposes though, is what we're picking evaluations, correct?
I
Because
think,
that's gonna change.
yeah, I think,
Right.
I think where you're kind of getting into the discussion on the levy, maybe we should
We can move on. We'll go down
do
to
that
that.
later in
Yeah, Mia, please stay around.
Yeah. Thank you.
All right, we're gonna move forward and open and take action on the aerial photography and digital ortho imagery bid proposals. That's that right? All right. You went ahead and would you explain what you did? You went ahead and sent it out.
So there were RFPs submitted, to DevNet. Well, not submitted to them. I told them where to go look for it. If they wanted it sent for me, they could. It was all on our website, so I didn't send it to anybody. I just reached out to companies saying we were looking for vendors to submit bids. The Vanguard and Eagle View were both here that day. DevNet came prior to me coming on. I contacted that gentleman, Scott from DevNet. They all sent in proposals. There was two other aerial companies that I think, Doug, you helped me find one. You suggested one, and then I found another one and reached out to them and asked them to submit. I don't believe either of them chose to submit any bids, So we have two cameras, DevNet and Vanguard, and one for aerial photography. So in a nutshell, the CAMA is the DevNet or Vanguard, which, I don't know how much you want me to go back into explaining what they
No, I
do.
just wanna
Okay.
I just wanna explain that you actually trying to reach out to everybody, and today we only have two? Three?
We have one for the aerial,
This is all I got for aerial?
two for Tama.
Okay. I will open up the one for aerial and see what we got.
Did you check Chuck Bowman over in Crescent City with Piper Cub on aerial stuff? That's probably good.
Huh?
That's, I was kidding.
Oh, okay. I went back to an email that you had sent me and looked for that person
Right.
and just did Google searches basically.
He's a great guy with the Piper Cub, which is just a little
Oh,
two-seat, but it's
gotcha.
just like a flying cardboard
I'm
box.
just trying to find. Cost proposal. Page 4. or section.
And what's this, aerial?
This is from Eagle View.
All right, Eagleville is proposing 2 flights over the 6-year period, and the total annual price of $65,218 will hold annual for the 6-year term that is proposed. The first project in spring of 2024 will have a project cost of $195,654, including the flight and corresponding software. In addition, spring of 2024 includes an optional building outlines project to be done, a change finder comparison from spring of 2024 to county provided imagery from 2014. The second proposed flight project is anticipated in 2027 for the same amount of the first project, $195,654. That cost will also be spread over 3 years.
Did they give a total then between, for the two flights over 6 years?
No, they did not, they said so far, let me go through the rest of this.
So they're saying $65,000 a year covers $195,000 for this year and $195,000.
So on the next page, the total annual price is $65,218. And the total one-time charge is $19,320. The total one-time charge for $19,320 is for the Eagle View Cloud Building Outlines year 2024. I can go through the rest if you want me to, I just wanted to look at this. And I'm gonna have you look at this.
So it sounds like it's the price they gave us in the presentation, which would be the change finder for the 19,320, two flights over 6 years totaling 391,218 for a total of 410,628, which was what they gave us when they came.
But that's broken down by paying them $65,000 a year.
Correct,
So there's
correct.
no other expense besides the $65,000 a year and
And
an
the
initial $19,320.
Right, which is for the
one time.
change finder, which
Right,
is.
no big deal, but just for the expense side. And that's the 300.
Right, and we can pay however needed to make, if, for ARPA money, if it has to be spent by a certain date.
It's one time 19,320 and then annually for how many years?
6.
First annually for 6 years, 65, does it say 218?
Yeah. Well, when I
Yeah, it would have to be spent by 2026, so
You could prepay it, I would think,
if you're gonna use all our money.
yes, I believe,
but we're gonna have some.
Trent had said that.
on the other one. There should be 2 envelopes. Okay.
so,
So it's a match.
it was off by
So that's,
$100,
Okay.
$110.
And, you see the second page after that?
total amount.
And this looks like what they sent before. Now with this, we could do one flyover. I mean, we could opt to do a 3-year plan, have one flyover this spring and be done with it, capture what they're gonna capture. There is that option. I think having the change finder is crucial because the change finder is what they're going to compare what we have in 2014 to what they capture in 2024 and send us that information in some type of Excel or database file so that we can then share that with the township assessors to go out and put eyes on all these buildings and get them assessed. I mean, I honestly believe the return on investment of this is gonna be huge. The stuff we pick up over 10 years that has not been on the books. I mean, just since I've started, we have found $2 million worth of stuff.
Oh my goodness.
And that's just you going out, driving
No,
around.
that's people whispering things in my ear.
Gotcha.
Question is they were gonna charge us $19,320 as a one-time charge compared 2014 to 24. Is there gonna be another charge compared 27 to 24?
That is not incorporated into that,
Do you
and
wanna know what's changed between 27 and 24?
yes, but at that point, I think we will have a better grasp on having better communications with, we have somebody in there doing permitting now, so we'll have somebody out there valuing things. I plan on at the first of the year getting out to talking with the villages and the towns and getting a relationship set up amongst the in-corp permitting people so that we're getting this information.
It might be nice to negotiate that price today if we want to take place and with the idea that we could always ask it to take place at the price that was determined today.
Today.
Is what I don't
Sure,
see in
it's
there.
just, it's almost $20,000, I mean, if that's something you wanna do, absolutely. For me, it was more, it's more crucial to get both to get the change finder at minimum of one time, get the flyover at minimum of one time, but also, not leaving CAMA out to dry if we're spending all this money
So if you
on
only did,
the imagery.
if you only did one flyover, then it's just the 65-218 for 3 years?
I believe, I think the price increases a little bit if you shorten the term. I think, the longer you do it, they bring the price down for you.
It says here, the second proposed flight is anticipated in 27 for the same amount as the first project. And that cost also be spread over 3 years, so it doesn't, it is what it is. I think you lock it in, if you say you do it today or twice, you lock in that price. If you waited, and in 3 years, say I wanna do the 27, then they have a right to change.
Right, if that's what we're interested in, I mean, Trent's very easy to get on the phone and he would get me something, assuming he's not at a convention or out of the office for some reason, I'm guessing
Hopefully
within
they
24
like to do
hours.
that, 'cause in 3 years, who knows what it would be priced.
Exactly.
Today.
Right,
Odds are it's not gonna go down. There might be competition, but.
Odds are it's not gonna go down,
Probably is gonna be
just like
competition.
interest rates.
There will be competition in 3 years. When you think about all the satellites that are popping up there and everything that's going.
Musk might have something, but everything else.
Well, we need to take in consideration this with the other part of the bidding process, correct?
We'll do this,
I mean, it's-
proposal. No, it's actually,
It's gotta be,
it's the same thing, but we still got two to look at.
but I mean,
So
this
the
whole,
photography goes one time,
I'm sorry.
and he can work with either company.
Right, but don't we need to responsibly look at the whole cost of this whole,
That's fine, we can do that,
before we say, let's do the,
we can do that, but no matter what, that's gonna happen for these to be able to be used.
and vice versa? That needs to
Yeah,
take place for
yeah.
those, but
I agree
what's
with
the
that
whole, what's the whole yearly cost gonna be?
That's fine, do you wanna hold off then, is what you're telling me?
Yeah, because I mean, we can't say, let's do this, if that's cost
Are you
prohibitive.
good with that?
I don't have any money.
Gotcha.
It's
John?
not up to me at all.
It's like trying to buy a snowplow truck without including the plow. You need the plow to make it work.
Everybody else in concurrence with that? Agreement?
Understand.
Is there a rush in having this done?
I mean, the rush in having it done would be making sure we get on the spring 2024 schedule. Spring is the optimal time, leaves off, to do a flyover. They can do it in the fall, but that's not as optimal.
When would they have to know to do this in the spring?
He did not give me a deadline, but he said sooner the better. He doesn't know who's gonna sign up and, who's gonna commit or sign a contract to be able to say for sure. He said if I got it to him by the board meeting, he said we could still get on for spring. I didn't offer anything else. I didn't ask any further questions.
About setting up immediately for a meeting, this week, to make sure you can move done this fast. So it's done.
If we wait until after.
And we're good. And on Tuesday, we'll do a board meeting, it'll all get passed through, and
Get on the list.
yes,
If we can afford this, that's the point. Can we afford this whole package? So we know it's $65,000 for 6 years plus the 19,000.
So
This year.
when do we decide this then?
today,
Well, we need to, well, hopefully we can think about it today and hopefully decide.
I'm not happy.
Okay, so the 65-218 plus the the 19,320, that's gonna come out to 410,628. You do have 165,000 in your GIS fund. Saying you could use 120 of that, and the reason I say 120 is because they still need money in that fund to pay for their GIS employee, which is Ms. Price. So you could use 120,000 of that, which would bring you down to $290,628. If you decided to award that through ARPA, that would leave the ARPA amount at $409,372 left for coroner and whatever the second half of this portion is. I don't know if that helps, but
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks for all the confusion, Jill. We really appreciate your time and help here today.
The
What I'm here
GIS,
for.
the GIS fund gets, every year gets replenished, about how much is every year gets replenished?
Hang on, I'll give you an idea.
And what else is that GIS fund used for?
Well, the GIS fund, I'm not sure what you can specifically use it for. However, I do know that it was always stated that it was being saved up to do a future flyover.
I can't start.
But I don't know how long it's even been, that you've been collecting it, yeah.
It's been since,
Portable
I think we
over
started collecting
a
in
while back.
2014 or 13.
And so that should,
He said it's been for a long time.
that would come out, not the monthly 500, but like the 5 years just got.
I knew you were going with that.
I'll tell you.
I just looked at Mark's face, like, you literally shocked her.
Oh, really?
So approximately annually it brings in about me comfortably saying it's gonna be about 62 to 65,000.
But we owe an employee out of that though.
Yeah, your employee cost is deputy clerk cost, which is, I will say, no more than 30,000.
So let's say 30,000 it brings in every year, that we can apply towards the next 6 years.
That's why I said comfortably, I wouldn't use all of it, I would say
No,
120.
yeah. So that would,
125, but ultimately,
that would help out with half of the yearly cost of the flyover. We need to figure out what these other,
And that
I just wanna make sure.
Bruce Harris
these other
cells come out of the other,
I'm looking at
okay.
All right, everybody has now looked at Eagle View, and that was the aerial photography and digital ortho imagery. Next on the list, open and take action on the real property computer assisted mass appraisal system bid proposals, so we're going to open this up. Just want to get that one on Christmas. It's not underwear, it's not proud.
Yeah. All of your Bruce Harris comes out of there, the 26,000.
That should have been a one-time, that shouldn't be that.
And you also
That'd
have
be an easier way to
farmland,
do this.
1,200
All right, so the Vanguard appraisal,
of that, all 500.
we have the Cama software license and service first year is $76,097.50. For the service only for 2 to 5 years would be $20,325 a year.
GIS fund.
20,000 what? 20,000 what?
$20,325 a year for the service only for 2 to 5 years. For the Cama Create, is the license and service fee for the first year, $13,125, and it looks like that is a one-time. So we have a grand total of $89,222.50 for the license and service, which is a $76,000
Plus the 15.
and plus $13,000. And for the service only for the 2 to 5 years, the grand total is $20,325 a year.
I'm sorry, how was that, DevNet?
Say it.
Nope, that's Vanguard.
That's
Can
Vanguard?
you say it again? What was the cost?
All right, so I'll go this way. I'm gonna say the total first. They're submitting a price quote for a 5-year total of $170,522.50.
107 or 70?
170.
Gotcha.
170,522.50. Now I'll go through it again. For the Cama software, for the license and service for the first year, it's $76,097.50. For the service only for the 2 to 5 years for the Cama software is $20,325 a year. For the Cama Create, which is the license and service for the first year, is $13,125. That's a one-time fee. The grand total, $89,222.50. And the service side is only $20,325 a year.
Is how much?
$20,325 a year. Again, the price quote for the 5-year total of $170,522.50. If you wanna look at this, I'll pass that around for pricing.
And this is for the software, correct?
Yes,
Okay.
Well, the whole camera package.
yeah, it's everything. Besides, this is the real property computer assisted mass appraisal system bids. And that's just the one for camera. Yes, Vanguard, yeah, camera vision and. They look the same, so I'll give you that one.
Here you go.
It's only page of pictures too. This is Vanguard. I thought that was Vanguard. Oh, so that's a different book than this?
No, they're the same. They gave us two of them.
I thought you just opened this.
I did.
That's Vanguard.
Right.
That's Vanguard for camera.
And the figures you just gave us for Vanguard too, right? Yeah. Okay. I just didn't know why.
Vanguard camera system.
Yeah, no problem.
Where is that list?
Again, we can look at the other one and, yeah, no problem.
Steve had it.
We'll look at it sometime.
Alright. Passed around.
This one I gave you.
Keep her going.
When Vanguard came, we had an estimate that was like about $100,000, so I'm just wondering what the difference between that is versus what was given to us then.
When you say 100,000 though, isn't relative to what? The per year cost or the?
100,000 was the total cost that could be divided amongst 5 years.
And then that's the $20,000 a year. So they're right.
Oh, I thought he said 170, so
He
that's
did,
why
because
I
he's got the
was-
licensing fee, the one-time upfront charge. The $76,000.
I'm just curious, cause this
Oh,
is what they
I
gave.
want to be involved in this, this is
Where was
right
the?
there, man has it.
Just trying to see what the difference was. So the camera create matches that, so that's that. This. So if we signed, maybe it was, he was giving us a 15% discount for signing for 5 years, and maybe that's not representing that, because this was the service.
He doesn't have that on there.
Yeah, he's got them divided.
Right, that's-
This, so well, one was service only, service and licensing.
The first year was service and licensing. How much is that over on this page? service and licensing.
It is 85,255.
And now he's got a 89
Right,
first year. That's the first year.
right, so
The
we have
second
to
year.
see if we can get,
What's the second year on this piece of paper cost? The second, third, and fourth year and fifth year cost on this piece of paper. Don't look over there, on this piece of paper,
Where does it say that? I get what you're saying, Doug.
Yeah. right. Well, I mean, he's saying there was a 15% discount applied though, so that number would be different. Estimated based on a 5-year contract.
He's got. So if we took that doesn't make any sense, his numbers. I don't know.
What's it say in her estimate? Where's that?
Well, 85,255, so I mean, it's
Estimate
slightly,
based on a 5-year service contract, but it doesn't say if this is yearly or what it is.
right, well, one of them's a one-time fee. I think the license fee is the one-time fee.
Quantity, there's quantities there down here, that's 5 years, and then that's 20 times for this seat service. So this must be every year for 5 years. But that doesn't make sense, because 5 times this equals that column, which is now 59,000. I don't know. You bring up good
A good
points.
point is that, cause he told me I was dividing this out by 5 years to this was the monthly cost, so I guess
Not
there's
the
some
monthly,
questions.
Yearly cost, not monthly.
Right, I'm
yearly
sorry,
cost, yeah,
the
no problem.
annual cost,
Right.
you're right.
Yeah.
So I guess, and this person that did this is not the person that came and taught, nor that gave me this estimate, which was Mike Week, so I mean, I guess there are some questions because they're not adding it. Even if the price has fluctuated for a little bit, this doesn't make sense.
But what we were presenting today is what's on the right hand side.
No, today is this.
Yeah.
Right.
What we were estimated was this,
Because that was brought in,
probably after, or was this after our meeting technically?
Well, no, I think it was actually before, he
Okay.
sent this to me prior to us having a meeting,
Right.
so.
Estimate.
You know, we-
Right, it is an estimate, but,
That just doesn't make any comprehensible sense as to compare this, how they did it.
right,
So it'd be nice to get it clarified, and then this
Yeah.
15% discount, but maybe that's already included, but we can't tell.
right, he doesn't reference that at all. And again, it was my assumption this was for 5 years, so then I would divide this number by 5 to get 11.
Looks like it's 5 years
Yeah,
there because of this.
Exactly,
Cause that comes up, wait a second, this adds up, doesn't add to 59,000. That column doesn't add up to 59,500. But this column probably adds up to 13, 22, 29, 40. Yeah, that adds up to the
59.
59, but this doesn't. So I don't know why he comes up with that number.
Right.
You know, when you
right, cause he hasn't multiplied it out by the 5.
then that's 20% discount coming across, we don't see the 15% coming across here.
Well, he says there was a discount, but he doesn't show it on there, so.
Let's look at the other one and
Yeah,
and then.
cause they aren't,
Just-
all right, so
If
the
you
other,
have questions, definitely here.
the other one is DevNet. I do have one question though. Let's just see what that is.
DevNet couldn't get their binder in their envelope,
Okay,
that's why it's not sealed. Yeah, they were okay with it being submitted as is.
no,
Well, and
I was writing it down.
I don't know.
Yeah.
assume we want to talk to the person who came and presented and
Right,
gave
Mike.
versus that.
Right.
That doesn't mean it's necessarily stop. Yeah, we'll see what the committee says.
All right, good.
Sorry, yeah.
No, I'd rather have you sitting down so we all together. All right, so the DevNet, the cost proposal will be the CAMA software license support and maintenance. Year one is $7,100. Year two is $7,100. Year 3, 4, and 5 is all $7,100 per year. The support and training on year one is $2,250. And year 2, 3, 4, and 5 is included. Software and training total costs, $9,350 for year one. Year 2, 3, 4, and 5 is $7,100. Then we'll go to third-party licensing. The Apex Sketch licensing per seat is $655 on year one. Year 2, 3, 4, and 5 is $260. The Marshall and Swift RTI and RTU licensing for commercial and agriculture on year one is $2,203.48. These all change. Year 2 is $2,283.58. Year 3 is $2,367.43. Year 4, $2,455.04. Year 5, $2,546.41. I will go now over the year cost per one. Year one cost total, $12,208.48. Year 2, $9,643.58. Year 3, $9,727.43. Year 4, $9,815.04. Year 5, $9,906.41. The total 5-year cost, $51,300.94.
But we're not really comparing apples and apples with our services that are provided, correct?
Well, preliminary you are comparing apples and apples. The difference is, well, one, DevNet, there's not a charge to create parcels because DevNet already owns all that information because we utilize them for our tax software. So there's that $13,000 isn't charged by DevNet because that's already their information and can easily pull that into CAMA. Honestly, I can't say one is better than the other based on personal experience. I can only say amongst the people I have talked to, Vanguard is the more reputable company when it comes to CAMA. DevNet is their primary focus is what we currently utilize them for, which is our tax software, which my office, Brienne's office, and Kurt's office utilizes them for. That is their bread and butter. That is their main company that they support. They, at some point later on, developed a CAMA program because they saw a need and, a potential to get involved in that. Versus Vanguard, all Vanguard does is CAMA. This is their bread and butter company. This is what they do day in and day out. Versus DevNet is splitting their time, resources, and support amongst CAMA and the tax software is kind of how it was explained to me. So as far as a database goes, both of them can create a database for us as far as holding our property characteristics, having the information. What the difference will be is how they go about valuing and getting us the data and information from that to create uniform assessments, fair assessments, and them having the software and the ability to do that without us manually entering everything. But again, I've never used either of them for CAMA, so I don't have,
What was the
My own.
annual licensing fee for DevNet? Was it the
$7,100 a year.
That was the
for-
licensing?
$7,100 per year for 5 years.
Okay, and what was the annual licensing fee for Vanguard?
They had just
Cause
a
even
one-time-
after this, even
They had
after
a
this
one-time.
project is done, I don't believe that. Cause I pay licensing fees on everything all year
They're
round.
saying it's $13,325 approximately, one-time licensing
One
fee.
time for 5 years?
No,
Or,
just
No, this-
One time.
no,
They're
these will all be reoccur. This is gonna be a contract for this
And
length
that's what
of
I'm asking
time,
for.
yes.
is what are
either
their
of them-
annual fees after the initial installation? Because in my mind, I would think just going off of whatever, but DevNets would be lower because we already pay them. And when you lump things all together, they tend to give you a better rate than just one company with one software. That's what I'm asking. I'm just, because going on in the future, we're still gonna have to pay the annual licensing fees, just like we do for DevNet currently, we do for Abilla, for the accounting software.
Right, either of them don't end after the 5 year, they're
Right.
just kind of setting
So
a
do we have any
guaranteed rate.
idea after the 5 years what those comparative costs will be?
It
my
would be
question.
similar to what it is now,
So
based on,
71 for
Right.
DevNet, and what was Vanguard?
Services.
when it was-
$30,000,
I mean, if
$20,000,
it's-
that's gotta be
Was
something.
139,
so
or if it was
based,
19,000 for 5 years, is it gonna be?
based on what they
See, it
paid
says-
before, it was
How
11,100.
many years?
5 years.
So 19,320 divided by 5,
Through
so we're looking at
5.
2, 3, 4,
3,800
and
a
5.
year for
No.
Vanguard.
It's 20,000.
4 years divided by
11,900
20,000.
was there,
Oh, per year?
yes.
It's per year.
Oh, heck.
Per year.
Yeah.
You use
Y'all need to
2,
go
3,
with
4, and 5.
Right, so what would it be if we
So,
divided that
hey,
per year?
Hello, hi.
That's what it is.
So I just was talking to Mia, and she said that talking to Vanguard, annually going forward, it was $11,000 a year
So,
after this contract.
so potentially 5,000 more then.
So, and then
DevNet's.
what DevNet per year is gonna be 7,100. That's what I'm looking at just from an IT standpoint, because those annual costs going forward, we're gonna have to pay, and they come out of the general fund.
And you may see a possible opportunity to where, since we already have DevNet in the system, to keep everything whole. And probably get a better discount.
Even without all of that, I mean, Mia's saying it's 7,100 for DevNet, it's 11,000 per year for Vanguard after the initial 5-year contract.
Right, Vanguard is more costly, no doubt about it.
Let's take time to analyze this.
But
They're still charging $20,000 a year, Vanguard is, for, they're calling it service only. So you're saying now that there's $11,000 on top of this?
no, not on top of it.
But it says service
What'll be
only
going forward is $11,000.
after the 5 years?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I'm catching. At least.
Right. But from my experience.
Could be a lot more.
is hands down to the company.
Well,
Financially, it's not, right.
talk to Rayna about DevNet, she'll say they're
I don't
on what machine that or something.
As far as tax, yes, they are.
That's
That's not CAMA.
She just said service. I think Rayna said, hey, they're, if I need them, they're here. Look what the problem we had with the tax screw up we had.
Yeah.
At that point, didn't DevNet help us out quite a bit when we had to mix up over in that part of the county of the assessed valuation?
DevNet's very good about helping out.
They came here and spent
I
time here.
can't say enough about their support.
So,
They've been out to the treasurer's office several times this year because
Right.
they have 2 new employees over there.
Yeah.
just saying that's,
Just
They
over
spent time here.
contract. Difference is $119,000.
Without charge, some of them.
they're doing a 15%.
Like what I did.
I don't know where this number.
Sit down with
That comparison
Hey,
before over
That's
at,
great, we're trying to pay.
just to make sure
Heard
they
something
know
on it.
exactly what they're paying.
They showed an
You get a
investment,
Based off these things.
they showed an investment here.
Huh?
They showed an investment here.
Yeah.
And all that was going on.
And that's not even.
They cared.
To be the ones writing this up.
I think we need to look at it a little.
Oh, I agree.
I understand financially wise, it's smart to do this.
What?
I mean, without a doubt, cost-wise, DevNet is cheaper, 100%.
Have you?
Will they both be a database to store property characteristics in? Yes. The difference will be how they can help value.
Have you?
And I have not experienced either of them to be able to say firsthand. I can only take what other people have telling me. And I've got assessors that said they have went from one county to another, and part of the stipulation was we will not use DevNet CAMA, you have to get Vanguard CAMA. So there's a reason why SAs want, and they still have DevNet for their tax purposes, because that's their main company. But again, I can't speak from personal experience, I'm gonna be quite honest with you. I can only go off of what other people are telling me.
So we're essentially, if you go with Vanguard, you're essentially gonna pay Vanguard and DevNet for the same parcel. Because what you were saying earlier is Vanguard would have to
Create
download or create all of
Right,
the
that's a
parcels again.
one-time charge of
$13,000.
$13,125, that they call it parcel create. DevNet doesn't have to charge that
Because it's
because,
already existing.
because it's already existing.
Gotcha.
As in what?
So every time you have any
These other
changes
counties
to
that
that
she's
parcel
talking
listing,
about
would you have to pay
and,
additionally for
Because at that
Vanguard?
point, we will be keeping it up at that
Because
we
point.
are,
This is just the
so
initial.
we're using Vanguard for, or DevNet for
Right.
running.
That's in there.
You're looking
It will
at
then
what
be
we're
us
doing
taking
Vanguard
folders
and
And I'm just asking
Entry.
for
No,
recurring costs.
no, I get it.
As
It
they're
is
wanting
more
to do
to
all
us.
these things with our.
why they're spending that additional money.
What
Because
five
she's getting
years
full-
ago,
Know what that
cost. No, I get it.
We're using DevNet on the tax side. Maybe the other counties,
Vanguard.
you know, aren't,
Well, maybe that,
That
maybe
is
doesn't
one time.
satisfy.
We never have to do that.
I think we should go to these counties and talk and look for $1 million.
That's
I
part of
mean,
what I'm saying.
Need some research
There's-
done.
There's some information missing here
Yeah.
that we should have before we make a decision.
I agree with
Not play around, because let's have
the only things that
something
we could do if we're comfortable thinking that we're gonna use Vanguard or DevNet would be put our name in the line for the flyover.
So what you're thinking,
No, I'm just throwing out
your thought is, let's go ahead and move forward, just thinking
Mhm.
of making sure that the aerial and digital, bid proposal is done today. But we need to find out more about why people are picking Vanguard over DevNet, even though the price is better with DevNet. There's gotta be a reason why, and you would probably like me to find out why.
I don't think one person should find out why, but that's
You
fine.
get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It needs to be looked at and found out what the
The
situation
point
is.
is, the worst case here with Vanguard is higher. Can we afford the flyover in Vanguard every year for 5 or 6 years? That cash flow, can we afford that?
What we're gonna pay with ARPA.
Doesn't matter, can we afford
So
it? Can we
that's a
afford it?
one-time thing, what's gonna happen. But going in the future after that is what worries me.
Oh, that's what I'm saying.
That's what the worry is.
Right, can we afford it? Then, because we need to pick the best option available between Vanguard and DevNet that we can afford. For right now, I'm saying, can we afford either or
That's
both
part
of
of
them?
that sentence, is what worries me right now.
Well, we got, $30,000 we're guessing in the GIS account every year.
Right.
So that would help buy.
But we pay for an employee.
Actually, there's 60,000 coming in. She and I are taking out 30 for the employee, and that leaves us at 30,000.
But you also need to take into account that they pay their Bruce Harris $500 a month fee out of that account too.
So that's
So
another
just the
6,000.
employee plus the $500 a month.
Which
So
is the public
25,000.
GIS site.
So 25,000, it's more than 60, but anyway, let's keep it at 25,000 that we could use every year going forward to help buy down this.
And the aerial can be done, we don't have to do a flyover for 10 more years if you choose not to, once we get it all, but
That's, yeah, so anyway, so, Vanguard, we're gonna be burning about, whatever, $20,000 a year in years 2, 3, and 4. With the flyover, we're gonna be burning $65,000, so that's gonna be $85,000 a year we're going through in years 2, 3, and 4, 5. We're getting $25,000, excuse me, from GIS, so that brings us down to $60,000 difference that we need to make up somehow, somewhere. If we think we can do it.
I mean, you have to keep in mind that the flyover is going to have some type of return on investments by picking up all the buildings, all the structures that currently aren't on the tax rolls. Like I said, just through whispers in my ear, we've got 2 million already since I've started.
When you say 2 million though, but that's
Assess value.
right, so we're talking about money we could put our hands on.
Sure.
So what does that equate to in money we can put our hands on?
Depends on what our tax rate is and.
Right, so anyway. The other thing too is we're gonna talk about our labor force. Is our labor force gonna have to change in that office to take advantage of all this information that we're getting as a cost?
My hope is that the township assessors will start doing some of their own townships. So the townships we have that, that Dan Schultz will start putting in his information, Jim Sherrill will start putting in his information, and then we can start, I will start entering in the counties that are the furthest away from being uniform, the things where the IDOR's statistics are telling us are not valued correctly.
How many different parcels we have in a county? 16,000 at least?
27, 28 total with farmland, yes.
Technically, you have to revisit all of those. As far as in your office, we have to go through and take what the essay person said and make sure that's correct in our system as far as evaluation and all that, correct?
Take the information off of our property cards, correct. Vanguard would do that for us for an additional cost. They would take 3 years to do it, but that would be us scanning each folder, scanning them the information. He said his guess for us would be 5 years if we did it internally.
And we don't know how much staff he's talking about extra to do. I guess that's what I'm saying, is what extra staff we're gonna need to do to take advantage of this information that's supplied by Eagle and whatever camera system we go by.
Well, everything from Eagle View will be sent to the township assessors to go out and visit, 100%. The new structures are valued by the township assessors.
Then skip that. What I'm saying is, are you gonna come back to us in a year or two and say, I need 2 more staff members to implement this information that I've got bombarded with? I can't do it by myself. I need 2 more people. Because we're trying to figure out what is our cash flow for the county every year if we go along with
I
it.
anticipate my current staff being able to handle that. But again, that could be 5 years for us to get it all entered. Even Vanguard said it would take 3 for their staff to do it. So it's the time frame that it would take to do it. It would probably take us 2 additional years based on me asking Vanguard, if you did it, what would it take? Approximately 3 years, well, versus us. And he said 5 to 6.
There'd be something else that's these counties that if we go visit a county, if we ask them, how do you implement it, and did it take extra people hours to do it, or did you just suck it up and do it with your existing workforce?
I'll go to a few of them, I have no problem doing that, we'll figure this out. What we need to find out though is why is everybody going to Vanguard?
I don't know about everybody going that.
Okay, well, let's just say, why are people that have it decide to change?
I don't know.
Because you're throwing money out the door if you decide to go with them. And then all of a sudden, we find out they're a mess.
Right.
And maybe they're great in the tax, or not the tax, but in the police department, but.
Tax, right. I don't know, yeah, that's the big question.
Because obviously, as she's already stated 3 or 4 times, that Vanguard, this is what they do, and that's it. So they must be really good at what they do in this department for people to be leaving DevNet.
Well, can we come up with $60,000 a year to implement one of those two camera systems and the flyover?
So with the flyover and the Vanguard, it's gonna cost you $581,150.50. With the flyover and DevNet, it's gonna cost you $461,928.94. There's a difference of $119,221.56. If you were to fund it 100% by ARPA, I'm just giving you an idea. The Vanguard system would leave ARPA with $118,849.50. The CAMA DevNet would leave ARPA with $238,071.06. I don't know
If
what,
we paid
we don't have any, idea what the morgue is gonna cost.
A good guesstimate.
And like I said, that's not taken into effect using any of the GIS funds. So if you use even if you use 100,000 of the GIS funds, that would leave you with 218 if you went Vanguard, or it would leave you with 338 if you went with DevNet.
If we paid everything,
If you paid with ARPA funds, yes.
everything, all 5 years of either project.
Yeah, I've covered it. I keep telling you in the ARPA department that
But to come up with an amount annually of $60,000 just
We
out
can't
of
do
the
the more
general
and
fund,
This.
Yeah, we can.
Wow.
Would you please read that all, or would you please say it all over again?
No, there's part about the Vanguard. If we did the Vanguard,
if you did the Vanguard, if you paid for it all with ARPA, because coming up with an annual
But we have
payment
money.
of $60,000 or whatever, it's gonna be impossible to come out of the general fund, I'm gonna tell you that right now, especially with the salary increases that we've already had. So if you paid for it all together with ARPA, with the flyover and Vanguard, it would leave ARPA with $118,849.50.
With 100,000, that's,
If you decide to use like 100,000 out of GIS, then it would leave ARPA with 218,000. If you went Vanguard, if you went DevNet and decided to use the 100,000 out of GIS, then that would put you at 338.
what are you saying?
exactly what you just said. We've got it covered then. I don't see,
Actually, we got it covered more, because if we take $25,000 a year out of the GIS in years 2, 3, 4, and 5.
Well,
That would
you
help
can't
us.
do that though, because if you're gonna use ARPA funding, you need to have it spent, you need to have it allocated by 2024 and you need to have it spent by
and we can
2026.
just spend all
We
the
can
front.
prepay.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can
So-
prepay, so that's fine.
I don't know anything about the software, I'm talking just purely financial.
You're
If
just
you
talking
went with the
numbers, Michelle.
flyover and with CAMA, you took 100,000 out of GIS and the rest came out of ARPA, that would put you with a remainder of approximately $330,000 to use for the morgue or whatever else.
You don't need that much. What do you need?
Well, we're hoping
We've got
2.25, we're
Yeah, so
hoping,
you're-
well, but we haven't,
And that's only 100 out of GIS.
Well, that's a hope.
that's all we can take out of GIS is 100,
Right.
because that leaves us a buffer.
Yeah, I
What was it,
wouldn't take any more
200,
than
was that 218 or 228?
218 if you went
So you
Vanguard,
got 218 left over for,
or 338 if you went DevNet.
So the point is, if we're comfortable, we can go ahead with the EW today, and start that process. That way that they get the
I
flyover
agree with
in.
that.
Then we take our time, unfortunately, to research more into which one of the two cameras we're doing.
Well, I have an issue where I wanna ask why Vanguard had 15% on something previously.
They do, that shows.
And I have a question too, because I have
Okay.
emails that say it's less.
It's really confusing. I'd like to have both people come back and
Yeah,
talk
we
to
need a little more
us.
time with this part.
Will they, both of them come back and make their presentations? Because in DevNet's, honestly, in their presentation, we didn't ask them to talk about their company. I specifically said, talk about what CAMA brings, not sell us. So he didn't sell us on his system. He told us what CAMA would do. It related to his system, but he didn't sell us. And same way with the,
No, I have questions for Vanguard, because what they presented and my emails and my
So your
estimate,
agreement also, okay, that's all I wanted to hear from you too.
Yeah.
she's saying right here, not she pointed out right here is 15% discount.
Okay.
But he's fees are so screwy. If we're gonna promise to do the flyover in March, and that's confirmed, when actually we sign up with DevNet or Vanguard, when, is there any rush to da-da-da, or you can be
No,
working on
that's-
things in the meantime,
We
correct?
still can be working on things in the meantime. I mean, the big difference with that is just starting to get our information computer-based.
You okay to do this? Like we're gonna,
The other thing to do is you consider going back to Eagle and ask them if we pay quite a bit of it up front. Now, we don't know if they're gonna be in business in 4 years, 5 years, so I don't know if we should pay that much, but if we paid them the first flyover fee, $300,000, would they give us a discount for that?
I think his fee is his fee, if we can pay it however we choose to.
A lot of places in business, if you give you a $300,000 check this year, we give you a discount because you paid them up front. And that's what I'm saying is.
here's what I'm looking at, Doug. This is just my, the cost proposal today from the bids that we've got sent to us today, that we opened today. I can see us moving forward with the Eagle View. I think we're gonna need to go back to Vanguard and DevNet, ask some questions. I believe I'm gonna go to Vermillion County immediately, next week and see what's going on, what they say about Vanguard and DevNet, and try to see another county or
Yeah.
two.
We need to, well, we can ask both of those people to give us contacts at these other facilities. I got some of them.
What's your thoughts on this, Mina?
No, I agree, and what you have to take into consideration is not all counties do what we do. A majority of other counties rely fully on their township assessors to do all of this work. We don't do that. Anybody wants anything regarding property characteristics, they're calling our office for it. You call Vermillion, you call Matt's office down in Vermillion, you call Eric in Kankakee, they're gonna tell you to call your township assessor and get all that information. So they're not using the CAMAs like we would use them. So you have to ask counties that are doing what we're doing, which is we're kind of taking the lead in getting these properties valued. Because in honesty, the difference in skill amongst our different township assessors is huge. I have some township assessors that the most they can do is tell me if a new property's come on, and then it's our job to value it. That's not how many counties work, or the opposite. This is burnt down, this has been demoed, take it off. They're not actually out there calculating the numbers and doing this. Jim Sherrill is, Dan Schultz is.
The other option we have for cash flow to consider is if we can charge the townships any monies for doing their job.
Agreed.
So that's another, can't put the money in the bank, but it's just another, and when they talk with Jim Devine, they would have an opinion then too.
Yeah. I don't know what Jim's gonna do because he's swinging for the fence right now in retirement, and
We'll have an
talk
opinion.
to Quinlan maybe, and hopefully we can get that answer.
Is there another person running for seats?
Yes, there is, there's two.
Okay. Thank you, but another subject yet. Yeah.
Okay.
So, I don't know. It's like kind of a rush, but.
Well, he's the assistant, so I thought we were just.
No, I mean a rush on this whole project is a rush.
So we're gonna have to live with it for a while too. Quite a while.
All right, so my thought today would be definitely put through the aerial photography and get that started. The second part of it, I think we need to hold off on and get more information from other counties and find out what's going on with it and make a better decision than what we're gonna make today. Gentlemen, ladies,
I'm good.
somebody wanna make a motion to accept the Eagle View, cost proposal?
The other thing, again, if we're gonna do this, I think it's worth talking to them first to say, if we pay you, is there any cash discount?
Mia, you've spoke with them, is there gonna be anything different?
Not based on, I mean, Trent's been here twice already. He came the first time, it was just Julie and I, and then Dan Schultz happened to be coming into our office that day, and I invited him to stay also. He had mentioned that we could always pay more if we were using ARPA money, but at no point did he ever say there'd be a discount for paying it all up front. The cost is what the cost was. The difference in cost, if we're looking at saving money, is do one flyover. Instead of, we can cut it to 3 years, do one flyover, one change finder. If we're looking to save money, but then doing it at a shorter time frame, he does increase the annual cost.
Alright, what'd you say?
How these other counties do it without a flyover? That's the other question, that's for $300 and some thousand
Or
dollars.
do they do it without a flyover?
I'm sorry,
Do you know which one does it without a flyover?
most all of them I talked to did it without a flyover.
Which is Union County that does it without a flyover.
I don't have that yellow pad in front of me, so I can't tell you, but I talked to 3 or 4 different county assessors about this DevNet. At the time, I only knew about DevNet. And some of them had hired a third party to do their assessment. Some of them don't have 26 townships in their county. Some of them have 8. So I mean, there's all sorts of stuff going on here. One guy doesn't really use much of the Canvas system, but they've got it. And so, I mean, it's just,
The difference is the amount of properties that are probably not on the tax rolls is gonna be astonishing
if
once
it's in the
that's
assessor's
discovered.
office. Jim Sherrill could do that. That's the other thing, is he offered to do all this.
At like $1 million, I mean, what was his cost though?
But that wasn't really, we weren't putting out for bids, we were just, he came forward with this proposal, to be honest.
Right, he can do it, but he's also doing Middleport, but Middleport is putting a cap on what they will pay him.
Right.
So which is limiting his work, he's charging per parcel, so once he hits their threshold or whatever, 5,000 that they gave him for the year, he's done doing work for the year.
I agree. Just a flyover is a temporary fix if we don't have somebody to do the job that's supposed to be done every year. Every 4
The
years.
flyover gets the properties on the tax roll, which is a huge part of it.
I agree.
Just the talk of all of this, $2 million has been discovered, just in people, I'm not sure if this is on or this, it's, be amazed at what people are curious, have been in our office to see if, what buildings are on their parcels, and
And that's without the flyover. So, yeah.
that's just talks of it. People wanting to come up front and say, this is here, before that discovers it.
People ratting people out.
Well, and
that's what
and that too.
Yeah, that's-
I mean, you can't compare a county that has township assessors that are quality and doing their jobs versus just turning in a new build and demo. There's a lot more to this job than just doing those two things. Especially in the market that we're in right now with everything increasing the way it has.
Same thing Bob said the same thing. Absolutely astonishing. A barn goes for $50,000 now. He said before it wasn't worth nothing. Remember him saying that in the meeting?
I don't think we can rush forward with this thing. If we have to have a special meeting, we have to have a special meeting. But
I still think we need to pass through the aerial photography and the digital ortho imagery. Get that started right away, get that done. ARPA's covering it anyways at the end of the day. I've already went through ARPA, I've already covered it with the amount of money that's in there.
appreciate it. But there's other places to spend ARPA money too. We just don't
Actually, no,
open
we
up.
don't have that. We've already said, we've already locked it, there's only 2 applications left, and that's it.
Well, but there's other ways, other needs. So, but anyway. I don't know. doesn't seem like we have a good plan in place for the whole project.
I don't see room for more with the plan, because if we go ahead and get the aerial photography and the digital, ortho imagery done, and then we find out about the, Vanguard question sheet has, then that questions we have, we come back next month's meeting, we decide on that, then we're moving forward with both of them. And then we're not slowing down the photography.
I go back to how many other counties are using the aerial photography.
Yeah, and like she said, what you're gonna get from aerial photography and from somebody that says they went out and did it, it's gonna be night and day difference.
Yeah, but if you get people who actually do what we pay them to do.
And that exact sentence, what you just said is the problem here, in this
But we're
county.
not paying them, the
But
townships
there's
are.
third-party people who do this.
Oh, definitely.
We
And how
haven't
much
looked
money
into
was
it.
it? But
What we haven't looked into.
we did, we had Jim here, how much
But
money was
we
that?
didn't look into that. I'm just saying, when I talk to somebody over on that side of the state, she's got a third party that does all her county. She doesn't count on her county assessor, or township assessor. But I didn't ask her, I wasn't smart enough to ask her, how did you hire and how much did you figure it cost you?
That's the problem, we don't know, it's the unknown.
What-
I think we're always gonna know the unknown unless we actually do something.
I just hate to spend everybody's money without a good plan.
And that's why we're not spending everybody's money, we're just doing the flyover, we're not actually doing,
All I'm saying is that flyover's gonna be worthless if we don't do something.
you're right, we need to do something. Because once again, we can't go back to assessors because we don't have assessors.
Well,
Unless we go ahead and hire one, and we don't know what the unknown is on that price.
we haven't talked to Jim Devine yet to see what his thoughts are.
Well,
Can
it's
we
not our
assess-
job to hire the township assessors, those are individual townships' jobs, and the problem that they find is they don't wanna pay anybody anything to do the job. So, I mean, it costs $2,500 to get the designation.
You know how that works. This guy is my buddy, I didn't see this parcel, yeah,
And what's a flyover do to that, Jed? It changes, it does.
changes the whole, yeah, yep, exactly.
Yeah.
I've seen that happen, just on local stuff.
So I just wanna make sure that the committee realizes that
I
the
know.
flyover and the GIS with that whole situation, that's utilized, like GIS is utilized by almost every department or a lot of departments in the county. It's not just assessment, and it has nothing to do with CAMA that we use it for. So updating those maps will help when we are coding voters to make sure there is a house on a particular parcel, for 911 to help us get an address for a particular parcel. So it's not just assessment and CAMA that you use that GIS for. So that flyover it will also help realtors, it'll help title searchers, various other entities that will be purchasing documents from the county or in their recording of documents and things like that. So I just wanna make sure that you know that GIS is not just a CAMA like counterpart. GIS is utilized by a lot of other entities.
I use it for animal control all the time, if
Well,
I have a
well,
dog or whatever. I
Will this
start
take the
using
place of
it.
GIS then?
Well, it is GIS. That flyover is the map for
Well,
GIS.
who did it last time for us, or how did we get the last one we've had that's over?
That was all part of the last one we have is the only one we have, and that was done when we instituted GIS. So that was back in 2014. It was a really big expense, as far as.
How much?
And I wanna say it was 400,000 for 5 years or something like that. It might have been even more than that. John, do you remember?
Several payments of
It-
thousands.
It was quite a bit of money.
Okay.
But again, updating the map which this flyover will do, will update GIS is what it's going to help with. Just as far as when you're keeping that in mind, don't just think that it's CAMA. related, this flyover will help, I mean, it'll definitely help assessment and the assessed values, but it'll help a lot of other departments as well. It'll help the sheriff's department also.
The highway.
Highway,
911.
a lot of us use it, so that flyover will definitely,
With solar farms and wind farms and that too. that
Right.
come into play.
yes.
I mean, daily somebody comes in our office
Sorry.
and says,
You target a
it's not
flyover
current
every 10 years,
representative.
Oh,
it's
absolutely.
taking in
Yeah.
$50,000 a year for the GIS fund. That ought to pay for the cost of the flyover.
And that's what Bob had always stated he was building the GIS fund up for, minus the employee and the Bruce Harris.
I mean, I echo what Brian is saying, I've been sitting there thinking, you guys are, you have so many other uses for this flyover thing that it's, yeah,
We're sure anybody can access that
We're getting-
cloud.
we're at the point, where I think we've depended on that, or we've grown to depend on that so much that if we don't get it updated, it's gonna be a detriment rather than an
Right.
asset.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Well, but I Googled
That
stuff
imagery
last
will
night
be
on
sent
things and
to
I could
Bruce
find
Harris.
mapping of Iroquois County that wasn't Iroquois County's map. So.
Well, you need to be going to the Iroquois County GIS site, which is, there's a link on the county website,
Yep.
or,
I'm saying is I got pretty good pictures last night. You guys got a letter from a citizen?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I went and looked at his property in the flood and I didn't use any of Iroquois County's GIS pictures. I used totally FEMA's has pictures
Sure.
that I could look up his address. So, I mean, there's other sources out there of images that.
there are other sources, however, they won't have our parcel information on
Right,
it, which
agreed.
is stuff that we
That helps you, yeah.
use. So that's
Okay.
That's the reason why we need that, as far as, then our maps also, like the GIS map also has precincts on it. It has, hopefully drainage maps soon, coming to a county near you, hopefully. It has fire districts, school districts. I can't remember all of the ones that we put on
The fire
there.
districts, who's gonna put the fire district mapping on the flyover?
It'll be integrated into it. It's already on there, so it'll be integrated into it.
Just a different lawyer.
It's just a new layer in GIS.
Right, Eagle View
So-
sends the imagery to Bruce Harris, who does the layers and
Okay.
integrates
That makes sense.
them all together.
Right.
I'm more comfortable, I guess.
I think the only real question I have is it seems hard to factor into the cost of the flyover for a plane to fly a few times over our county to cost so much money. But it is what it is, and if that's what it takes to do it, I think that's what we have to face.
I mean, I reached out to the Ford assessor, cause she was interested in doing it. And then we reached out to Eagle View and said, hey, if you do both of ours at the same time, would you give us a discount since we're next to each other? And they said, no, it doesn't work like that because of the different pictures and angles that we have to take. It's exclusive to your county. So I did try to look at it from that angle. And again, to get the costs down, I mean, we would benefit from doing a one-time flyover with the change finder. I mean, that will be huge to at least have one new imagery. Maybe don't get both of them.
We don't know what the cost is of doing one. So anyway.
All right, gentlemen, so we're back to where we were.
I guess I'd make a motion then that we go with the Eagle View flyover. As long as it can be used for all the different departments and the mapping that we said would take place.
Justifies the cost a lot more.
It makes it easier to swallow. Yeah.
Diversified, exactly.
And the ARPA funding's there and the GIS funding, and so that it's to be determined how it gets funded. Does that make sense?
This will be our program. We have a meeting on, coming up.
We'll have to talk to them and see about prepayment, because And then we also have this other thing.
We gotta figure out the other stuff. But anyway, there's a motion on the floor to accept Eagle Deal's proposal. Second, Steve?
Geiger,
Yes.
Hughes,
Yes.
Whitlow,
Yes.
Ducat.
Yes. Motion passes.
Do they do ride-alongs?
I'm going.
Only if you take notes for me, so we.
All right, so open and taking action on the real estate property computer system, mass appraisal system bids. We're gonna put a halt on those, and we're going to, move to next month's meeting, and we'll have discussion on it, hopefully. We can see if you want to see if maybe we can get both of them to come back over and have a conversation with us.
Yeah, that's one thing, and then the other thing is to furnish,
Do you have any opportunity for, looking at either one of the systems and actually, I apologize the way I must say this, but like playing around with it to see if it's worthwhile?
I mean, the supervisor of assessments that I lean on the most with my questions in Moultrie County, just because she genuinely is willing to help me without me seeming like a nuisance. She uses Vanguard, so I could definitely go down and see hers. The lady who took over, and I don't remember what county it was, that currently has DevNet and they're switching to Vanguard. She doesn't want DevNet to know they're pulling the plug until they're ready to pull the plug, because she doesn't want them to
Got you.
mess with the data that she has, so I don't know how willing she'd be willing to help. And again, I would have to find somebody that uses DevNet at a county level to value, because their township assessors are not doing an adequate job.
So, I'll ask.
And half
this.
of mine are, I mean, half of the town, you know, I mean, if I could have Jim
Can you
Sherlin, Dan
contact
Schultz do
DevNet
all of them.
or Vanguard and see if they will give you their program to mess around with for a couple weeks.
Oh. Yeah, I can just ask.
You get what I'm saying? I mean,
Yeah, I get what
if you
you're
don't
saying.
get a
I thought you
hands-on
meant me to
opportunity,
go
it's not worthwhile even looking
someplace.
at.
unless you just bring a laptop or something.
You get what I'm saying though? I mean, you wanna touch it before you actually agree to it.
Try before you buy.
Yeah. There's even any kind of a possibility just to have, you know, as we sit here today, it's better than one of us sitting here. It's better to have a group of us. More minds are better. We get better conversation, and we figure out what's going on. Is there anything else we want to talk about with that? I'm gonna go on uncharted territory for a minute with me and Bree. I'm gonna ask her this. So I have never sat back after we've opened bids and actually went back and left it and went and had conversations with these companies and then came back to it the next month. What do we have to do for that?
Well, we did it with election equipment, you
Okay, I
guys
just
tabled
don't
it and let me do a cost comparison. Make sure we were looking at because they bid them so differently.
Okay.
So to make sure that everything that you asked for is included and to make sure that they priced everything and to get your totals and to know how much you're gonna spend, you can absolutely table it.
I don't wanna do anything wrong, that's what I'm asking.
I don't think you'll do anything wrong, as long as you're not
You
out.
have the option to reject all bids if you want.
Correct.
If you're not doing that, you're not wanting or allowing any people to change their bid pricing.
Right, you
You're just
can't
wanting
change
them to
it.
clarify the bid, explain and answer any questions you have, but not change the pricing.
I mean, there is a question, because the bid in Vanguard's versus what they gave when they came here and versus what was spelled out in some email conversations is vastly different. So I mean,
I think that's their prerogative,
Okay.
though. I'm just guessing.
but they came from two different people. That was one
Get
person.
it,
Right.
at the
Right,
same
but
time,
we're
you gotta-
talking big differences, not
I agree, but then they screwed up sending this, not that.
maybe.
And that actually hurts them, not us, even though we might want to go with them instead. And that might be a conversation we have. If we do decide to go with them, then we may have to reject all bids and do this all over again, which, yeah. Is there anything else in assessment you'd like to talk about today? Okay, thank you, Mia, for your time. Thank you for finding also $2 million more of assessed property. Thank you for that, by however you found that out. Moving on to planning and zoning.
Okay, so we finished the year at 61,827, which is a $21,295 increase from the previous year. And it's on a 4-year average, we've done 49,182.42 cents. So we're above average on that as well.
You know how much we paid our inspectors?
No, I do not have that in front of me for the year.
Okay. Well, probably maybe sometime be nice to know.
Okay, I will put that on my list for having that information in front of me for future meetings.
Or if you just email to us or whatever you do, then it's fine, and
I
a
don't, Jill's
spreadsheet.
probably got it right here in front of her, that's probably what she's looking for. She's the numbers lady. Marvin Andrus is not going to renew his appointment on ZBA. So with his departure, we are now down 3 members. And so I need to know if we can advertise or something to try and recruit some ZBA members. I've asked Marvin if he has any idea for a replacement. He did not. He's from the Milford area, so I reached out to the mayor of Milford to see if he had any suggestions for anyone. He did not, but he would keep that in mind. I've asked Matt Lindgren to step over as the acting chairman. He's kind of been the voice of reason on that panel as it is, so it just felt like a natural transition, and he has agreed to do so. My concern is that if we don't get someone quickly, we're not gonna have enough members for a quorum ever. Because I have a member, Dan Raymond, that is spotty at best for showing up. Can't have a quorum with only 3 people, and that's what we're facing. We have 10 alternate energy companies throughout Iroquois County that is active. I provided each of you with a sheet and where we are on who's in the county and what their status is as far as solicitor licenses. Not all of them are going door to door, so I can't enforce the solicitor license on them. I currently have 5, and I'm working on processing 6 more this week. So we'll have a total of 11, but it will be 3 companies because 2 of the companies have multiple agents, and both of those multiple agents are looking at wind. Doug, you had asked me about building codes, what we were using. I found in this county code book here, the listing for where it was showing that we're using 2011. I didn't know if you wanted to see this.
Great, thank you. That was brought out. It's supposed to be at the circuit county clerk's possession, these 3 books that I don't think they're at, so it needs to be revisited. It sounds like what the county's done is great in saying that they're gonna use the International Builders Code for their building thing. I don't know what the 2011 book says, if we ever find it. We need to make sure our enforcement officers use that book. I don't know if they do use it. There was some questions on a large facility that was erected recently that sprinklers weren't installed. And there's a, yeah, so the point is I think they update that every 3 years, that book. Watsika chooses to still use an older version for some reason, and the building inspector doesn't know why they don't up that. Besides, you have a payment to pay. Now, he also said that if we do our hazard mitigation with FEMA, then we can apply for monies to pay for the IBC code book.
That timeline is running out on that. I did send all of that to Scott Anderson.
We can't, they say you can't do it until we get our letter from FEMA with hazard mitigation.
Yeah, we're not gonna probably have that before the deadline. So, additionally, I have this, fact sheet for the building codes that, I found online. There are some statutes that are changing after the first of the year, that will have an impact on what we do with our building codes, so I just wanted to share that information as well. My electrical inspector had asked if we could get, a new updated, it's from the, National Fire Protection Association is who the electrical is through, and this is 2020. So I will be giving.
This goes back to what you say in your rules, that you can even use that book, correct? Because you're.
He said this is the most, current version that's out there.
Is that what it says though in the policy?
Doesn't say that.
What's it say?
It says the 2011 book is the one we use.
So they have to change that first before he can use that
Right.
book.
Right.
And they may not change it.
I've asked the committee.
Yep.
To review that section of the county building code.
Yep.
Present it back to the PNP.
Yep.
So it's a part of our total review of the county code book.
Agreed.
So that's something that is not on the agenda yet. I haven't pushed you guys to get it on the agenda because you got obviously things with CAMA and flyovers and whatnot. We have to get through some of those things first. Have to get through the levy. And then we can take a look at updating the building codes.
And we can at least do research in the meantime, because we know it's coming. Okay.
No restriction on doing research.
We just won't spend any money. We need to put that on our agenda then sometime when things slow down there, Mr. Chairman.
I believe it's section 10 in the county code book, so we'll be approaching it pretty soon. I hope that can kind of dovetail together on it.
So these people in your alternative energy companies contacting are people you hear about in our county, but not necessarily have filed for the solicitor permitting.
Right.
And right now you have just two
I have,
on this list of who have filed for.
yes. Soon to be 3. I'm working on one student. I have 2 others, on that list that were not aware they needed a solicitor permit. They have since ceased, knocking on doors. They are, independents and they are waiting on some information from the company they're representing before they file for the license and, go through the background check and all of that.
Anything back from that Pure on their informal discussions they had with us?
No.
And then how about the one over by the Sheldon?
The last thing I had from the company at Sheldon is they were trying to dispute the Made in America language, and conversation with Jim was, no, we're not removing that. So
That's up to Jim to do?
I'm not sure what they're trying to do.
Yeah, I'm lost too. When we talked, he didn't think that was enforceable, with that we can say it, but if it's not made in America, then it's hard to, and sometimes it isn't made in America, so, yeah. So, I don't know, okay. Well, and that's what they're just telling you, that may not be the truth.
And that wasn't from them, that was from Mr. Rice, so. The landowner.
Made in America is a rather nebulous term anyway.
Okay.
Like a lot of other words, you know.
Yes.
I guess it'd be nice to know it from a department level, if we can keep our revenues and our expenses kinda.
Exactly.
She's trying to, is always bringing up about the
Right.
inspectors, cause we'll need to buy, the books I looked into were $700 per book. So, and I don't know what there is available online for, electronic versions.
I found this one at Walmart for $45.
Great. Well, we can't use it quite yet.
Yeah, quite, yeah, exactly, I know, but I'm just, for an
I know
example.
that the Air Protection Association, they're coming out with a new one in '24, supposedly. So there's no sense of getting excited about buying the current one.
Good? Good. Alright. Yeah, I use that code book already, so. Yeah,
electric one?
that's what I do for me, yeah. A lot of the stuff we're talking about is why I have to qualify for trade.
Yeah, good.
But going forward, my thought would be we should be reimbursing these guys if they go out, these code inspectors, and they get any training. That it's actually free usually. It's a lot of places I go to, shops, houses, any warehouses, they actually give this training away, for using their products. So, a lot of training I've gotten just from hands-on because of opportunities, but maybe that'd be something else that they would wanna look into. Just maybe.
Great idea.
Julie, you got anything else for us?
Talked with, Jim and we, discussed giving, or we agreed to give, Corbin another month to get the concrete that is still there, to get that off of his property. And, Jim stated to not allow him on drainage, at this point.
So is he on a current drainage?
He's attempting to get on one, and Jim has said, until this is resolved, no, and then we'll reevaluate at that point.
You need a recommendation from us not to?
No, we're already handling it.
Okay. And so we've only asked him just to take the concrete off. We're good with the dirt the way it is right now, but just the concrete.
The pictures that he has sent, there has been dirt that has been removed.
Okay.
And since I don't have any pictures from prior, I cannot say 100% that he has not taken everything out. But there is piles of concrete that are still there that need to be removed. I asked him, well, Jim has, through conversations, asked if I knew, one, where he took the dirt, two, where he's taking the concrete. And Mr. Claus has been less than cooperative in providing that information.
Has he been sent a direct, has he been sent directly from the state's attorney what needs to be done?
No, he has not. I can ask Jim to do that
I
though.
think that would probably be in the best interest of this committee to somebody make a recommendation, or you need a recommendation or motion from Jim, or to ask him to send a letter to Mr. Clausen stating that at this point, we are fine with whatever your findings were. How's
Okay.
that sound?
Okay,
That way we have a directive going between them two. It'll be taken at a legal level then, and it'll cover, what we have going forward. Sorry, did you yell at? Next on the list, anything else, Julie?
That's it.
I had a question is, do we need to notify some of these people, because he was wrong, but somebody offered him something they shouldn't offer him on,
If you
The
want a
majority.
letter sent to the individual that did this,
Oh, no.
or,
I'm saying in general, not.
In general, the landowner is the one that is the responsible party.
it's the
I
same thing
know,
with the wind towers, like we set up, if they're gonna put wind towers on their property.
Yeah.
Or windmills, it's their responsibility to take it down after.
I know, but as a former property owner and with low areas, it was nice when somebody approached me to say, hey, would you like some fill?
I get all the time for concrete, but I always make sure
I
it's not
know,
asbestos and it's not.
I know, but I'm wondering if we shouldn't put some of these large generators of this on notice saying, you know, you can't take stuff into the,
I totally agree and I get it, but it's the same thing of, you know what's better.
but
It's like telling someone they can dump trash on your property and you're gonna burn it. Well, you don't know there's tires in there. Well, you're now responsible for them.
I'm saying that company got a lot of money because they didn't have to spend a lot of money to get rid of their dirt. And it came at somebody else's expense. And they should have known better, especially in just a park area, when there's water running down Main Street, you should kind of know before you ask
Well, I
that
feel bad for
property.
the guy, I really do, but
Well,
you gotta be responsible for yourself.
I agree that, but somebody knocked on his door and
I-
said,
Oh, see, I didn't know how that all went down.
yes, that's how they do it, is they say, property owner, we're gonna have all this free dirt, we'll haul it, you want it.
That may be how that
That's-
happened, but that's not how I was told.
That's how it happened at my place.
Okay.
And so I'm just saying it happens where you don't know that you can't do, he should have known. But they shouldn't go around just anybody's door knocking on it saying I have free dirt to give away. And the other ones that have a lot of it to get away too, in my opinion, is township road commissioners. They should also be made aware of.
Oh,
They
definitely
can't
should
go
be.
dumping.
I've had to call, the EPA because they took in, asbestos fill and they just dumped it.
Yeah, who knows? But I mean, everybody needs to be aware that with our stormwater situation in the county, that you just can't accept fill. And you can't,
What would be your way of getting that expressed out?
I just send it to the generators of this potentially. I'm sorry that, you know, there's one on the west side of Watsika, there's other ones too that.
They
Dirt.
have been sent, they have been sent the floodplain information.
Good, but, and then I'm just saying we should not just only pick them out, but anybody who generates the capacity to generate dirt then needs to be aware of where they dump it or propose to dump it, so, anyway. He should have known better, that landowner.
Yeah.
So,
Maybe the both should have known better and they thought they just wouldn't get caught.
well, somebody still
Yeah.
got paid or lessened their expense by,
Agreed. I feel bad for both of them. At the same time, I'm happy it was caught and it was changed, it was corrected.
agreed.
I also am happy that this is gonna go back to Jim Devine and we're gonna just get this exactly done, taken care of, and we can move forward. You two guys on the right side have been very quiet today. Julie, do you have anything else for us?
I think that's it.
All right, so we'll move on with the discussion and action resolutions on parcels sold throughout the Duncan tax program.
Yes, so you each have a resolution in front of you for the sale of two parcels. They're right next door to each other. It is unimproved land in woodland, has like trees and stuff on it. And it's in village limits, I believe. Anyway, the trustee sold it for $2,500. And we're just asking for the approval of it to get it back on the tax roll.
Something want to make
How big an
that,
area was it? just lots, is it 2
It's-
lots?
I think it was a total of 3.5 lots. Just like when you go into Woodland, if you turn by, Ricky's house, or Ricky's shop and head down to the, past the post office and whatnot, down the railroad tracks, it's just right in the middle of a subdivision, kind of right there, just 3 lots, and then it goes into a bigger wooded timbered area behind all of those houses and everything. But it's just 3 lots in town.
Okay.
Second. Whenever you're ready.
Geiger,
Yes.
Hughes.
Yes.
Whitlow.
Yes.
Ducat.
All right, that passes. Thank you, Bree. All right, on to the biggie, discussion and action on the FYI 2023 levy. I know we're gonna have some conversation on this, it's almost lunchtime,
It'll be quick.
I hope.
I wasn't at last meeting, and there's some question and talking to people on the street who said, you're gonna have another freeze of taxes, because our taxes are going up that high. It's like I thought I'd better look into what was going on, so if we can look at the bulletin board here, board. The finance committee had a target of $1.9 million need to be generated from real estate taxes to balance our budget. So the finance committee came up with the $1.9 million. Our assessed valuation that we talked about earlier being high, medium, and low. Go to the calculations of the percent that we're gonna have to raise our taxes that we're gonna talk to our citizens or parcel owners by. So, point is, finance committee told us they needed 1.9 million. If we raise our tax rate, working back to 1.0487, we'll generate, it looks like, $1.939 million worth of money that satisfies this need from the finance committee. If we take the middle projection, then we're doing the 107, it gives us over $2 million. Same way if we go to the high, we're gonna have the 2.48 million. The issue is anything above 105 needs to be a truth in taxation, which we go back to our taxpayers and say, we're gonna raise your taxes more than really we need to make to do, and we have no justification, honestly, to do it. Now, our budget here for Iroquois County is over $7 million a year, of which the 1.9 represents about 27% of that. Other things that make up that budgetary number was sales and use tax and income tax. Those are the big ticket items. Now, back in 22, we had property taxes, $1.77 million was property tax in 22. In 22, sales and use tax was 1.97, and income tax was 1.58. Now, in proposed budget of 24 is our property tax is 1.9, our sales and use tax is 1.34, and our income tax is 1.21. This has gone up a little bit, which is our real estate taxes, but our sales tax has gone down quite a bit. Also, then our income tax has gone quite a bit. Now, if we say income tax is driven by people who live here, why do you want to live here if your property tax is going up? I mean, that's a big selling point when you talk to people. They say how Iroquois County has higher sales or income, property taxes. It may or may not be right, but that's the That's what they perceived. Correct. And the same way then it goes with the sales and use tax. John has said it repeatedly, and he's 100% correct, is buy local or have it shipped to you, we accept it local, because then we do get the sales tax. So, the point is, this committee is charged to get to this number, $1.9 million. It's a finance committee's responsibility to figure out where the money's coming from and how to balance the budget. It's ours to provide the number that they do. I don't know how well we explained this before, but I think we can get by with that. We still have to have the hearing because we've advertised we're gonna have the hearing, but at the hearing, we could say we've had some updates in some of our numbers, and we don't think we're gonna have to have that big of an increase in our real estate taxes.
Part of the problem with these numbers is that we don't collect everything that we're levying for. Not everybody pays their taxes. And as Mia pointed out, she has quite a few people that are appealing their taxes. We don't really know how much is gonna come in, but it's not gonna be the amount that's shown here. It never has been, it never will be.
That's why we usually went with the high end.
That's part of the reason we've done that, but
Yeah.
also in the past, we didn't exceed the truth in taxation part, so it was less of an issue. Doug is talking about the way this presents itself to the taxpayers.
Right.
I think another thing that we need to take into account is that with all of the things going on in the assessment office, it's likely that we may have truth in taxation for several years going forward. Because the EAV is probably, the county's EAV is probably gonna go up. Now, we may not decide to levy the full amount that we can. But on the other hand, our expenses, as we talked about this morning, are going up quite a bit in many areas. So these are all things that we have to take into consideration. It's true that the average balance in our general fund over the past several years has increased. And I think that's probably a good thing, because in the eyes of many, including myself, that average balance was too low. It's supposed to cover at least our operating costs for a year, and never quite has achieved that amount, so. It's a rainy day fund, more or less, than anything else, so I mean, that's something we have to look at as well. Because if you go with the low and it comes in less than that, then that means that the balance in the general fund will be depleted.
But you're putting a lot of it on the taxpayers, in my opinion, the real estate taxpayers, versus the people who buy gas, the people who work. And this isn't a choice, this is a governmental sanction saying you need to pay more real estate taxes. But there's other forms or ways for the finance committee to cause other revenues to take place. But it's the taxpayers now who are getting picked on, saying you need to increase the real estate taxes. It's kind of the last part of the formula. Unfortunately, it comes in the last part of the year. You know, we can talk about sales tax increases. That's an option. Gas tax is an option. There's other taxes we do. We could get in solar farms and wind farms, and we could try to attract other landfills. So I mean, there's other sources of income, not today, not in December 5th or whatever, 4th. And I just feel bad that it's 2 years in a row, we gotta go back to the taxpayers and say, hey, you owe more money. We're doing it anyway.
You said the one thing that I do not want in this county is a landfill. And that will never happen as long as I'm around. I don't want that.
And that's fine, and people don't want solar panels and people don't want wind towers, you're right. We just need to think of other ways besides going after the taxpayers.
There's a bill going forth right now for a 3-mile setback on solars.
Thank you, Rick.
It's,
Yeah, Resin is introducing legislation
Did you hear about that?
to change it to 3 miles rather than a mile and a half from municipalities.
Put away in the domain.
I guess I would, excuse me, add to my comments, I'm not necessarily disagreeing with what Doug is saying, I just think it's important that we understand all around.
I do, but what, we don't have enough money all of a sudden because we went the lower one.
I can tell you that, yes, he's right, there's other forms of taxation. I believe, if my memory is correct, in Ford County right now, the schools are considering applying a sales tax. And I know there's a lot of people very unhappy with that whole notion, but they're wondering, where's all the money going that's from the wind farms that they put up over there? I don't have the answer for that, that's obviously not our responsibility, but I did see in the news where the school boards are considering imposing a sales tax.
Well, they've lost a lot of kids too over COVID and, people are doing a lot of at-home schools now. That's a large thing happening fast.
And society isn't having as many kids as we used to have.
No, I agree.
It's changed, but yeah.
It doesn't really matter, I suppose, what tax you increase or impose, people are not gonna be happy with it.
tax, dirty word.
So I think it's perhaps what we're talking about is a policy matter as far as property taxes is concerned. If we want to adopt a policy to keep property taxes extremely low and tax other areas to make up the difference, that would be one thing that we can do. If we want to continue along the pathways that we have in the past, we can do that and not impose these other taxes.
I'm just, for the time being, is what I'm saying, is the finance committee needs to work harder with the departments on managing a budget.
I think one thing for sure, if we do go with the low this year, it's almost a guarantee that next year we'll have a truth in taxation.
Probably so. But the finance committee needs to work harder on what they can. Yeah, we need to do a better job, I'm just saying we.
I think no matter what, you're gonna have a truth in taxation because when we do assessments, there's gonna be a big change. And I think that's gonna take place for I don't know how many years. And I think we're just gonna have to deal with it, which is not a good situation to tell the people and the taxpayers. But it is what the truth is. You can't hide. We didn't ask for COVID. And COVID's changed this world completely. I mean, it's totally transformed everything. And that's why we have a truth in taxation, it's getting every year, because things are changing so fast.
Well, the other thing I'll say too on this, when we go back to look at all of our real estate is, we had a graph, and this is a number of homes, and then we had this as being, you paid 0 taxes and you paid a gazillion taxes over here. We're gonna have a bell-shaped curve of people who don't pay any taxes but should be paying taxes. We have people over here that are paying too many taxes because their home hasn't been depreciated. When NIA goes through it.
And that's a problem with assessments, people don't understand. You go to somebody and you say, well, I wanna assess your property, they go, oh, no, don't touch it.
Right.
But the house is 20 years old and they didn't have it touched for 20 years. They don't get it.
So the goal for me is to get more of a flat here where some people are increasing because they've improved, some people are decreasing because a year has gone by and their house is now a year old. So that's the ideal. Unfortunately, we're right here. So I don't know for sure where our valuation is gonna go. I don't think my house has been gone down in because I've lived there now for 29 years. It keeps going up. So, but I know we're driving it here, but I don't know, the assessment, it keeps going up too. But the $2,500 acre, or excuse me, lot down in Milford is probably a lot higher than it was 10 years ago too, so I mean, it's all relative.
Thanks, Julie.
But I guess I'm just asking for this year to not put on the owner's backs. I agree, next year maybe we'll have to do it, there's a lot of, and the finance committee needs to do a better job of figuring this thing out. We need to increase the pay to our employees, that's not, not the issue. It's the other things that we need to look at. It's not this committee looking at it, it's the finance committee that needs to look at it.
Julie, you've been doing this for years. I'd like to hear your,
I don't have an opinion on the levy, that's up to the tax committee.
no, I'm asking about financially
Okay,
on this county, what he's talking about.
I missed a lot of what he was talking about, because we were talking about the camera costs, I'm sorry.
I'll skip that then.
I will
Doug, I know what
listen
you
to
wanna
the
do, I know you
meeting.
wanna go low. And we wanna do the 1.9, cause that's what we're gonna probably need is 1.9. But as John says, we're never gonna be able to collect all that 1.9. So what do we do if we don't have the money then?
That's happened every year, and I think you'll find that we do have some monies available in our different accounts. So if we're short, I'll give you this. This tells you how it impacts the people that, or committees.
Alright.
But, so we're saying that if we go low and we're wrong, the difference between low and high is $108,000 at the corporate level. On the county highway, which this would impact, would be $40,000. Bridges is $20,000, and the matching fund for the taxes for the bridges is also $20,000. So we'd affect the county highway by $40,000. Of revenue, and the bridges. Do you know about how much is in the fund balance of?
Just closed it, I'm sorry. I think when we talked yesterday, it was 800,000 in county highway,
Correct.
and then, I
We're-
believe it was 1 million and 2 million, but I don't remember, I can look it up.
Right, so there's, the point, and that's good enough. The point is, there's quite a bit of money in reserves of those other, entities. And I haven't, their budgets are covered. I'm just saying.
It's almost a finance thing where you wish that the county highway department head was in here. And you can have these conversations with him to find out where he is at.
Well, see, the $1.9 million covers him.
Right.
So it's covered under the low side. I appreciate what John's saying on not all the money comes in, but is that this committee, it is this committee to interpret or understand that. It's the finance committee that needs to help understand that too.
And as we talked to Mia earlier, then it comes and changes afterwards.
I'm sorry?
It changes afterwards.
Well, I don't think
Because this
that's
is more for
fixed.
budget
Right.
than she had said.
But if it goes up, we'll get more money.
Right.
Yeah, so, yeah. And if it goes high, we'll get more money. So I mean, there's a lot of reasons we'll be getting more money. It's just, we're not taxing people more. But it's up to the committee. I just wanna make sure they understood where we stood.
I get where you're coming from. I understand it. Problem I have is we have the unknown. I don't like the unknown.
And that's what we bring up every time we have this discussion, because I've been on this committee probably 10 years or more, and I don't recall ever going, I understand your point 100%. And I appreciate it, because people would appreciate it too. But have we ever went with anything besides high?
But it never caused us to do truth in taxation. That's the difference.
Right,
That's what I'm
right, got
saying.
it, I understand that, I get it.
Years we've jumped to 760, that's crazy.
I don't believe we have to, it's been pretty hot, every year we've been this hot.
I think so.
Right.
I think you're right.
But we we have not been faced with the truth in taxation.
Right. I
And
get
a lot of
that,
the
yeah.
reason that you are is because 2 years ago, your high taxable EAV was at 640 million, to whereas now we're looking at 760 million.
I don't know.
Because, you know, the way that people bought properties and the astronomical amount that they were purchased in really affected that. So I think last year, definitely you were gonna have it regardless because of the way that it jumped so high. This year, you have an opportunity to maybe go with the low and not have the truth in taxation. Then again, you know, looking at fund balances, like Doug said, highway, I would definitely speak to them because I don't know, they have, their funds are allocated per IDOT and I know they have some grants that they're working on, so I'm not sure how much of that fund balance is actually like flexible funds that they could use. And as far as the general fund goes, we don't even have 1 year's worth of operating expenses, so are we gouging people? I don't believe we are. If we had at least 1 year's of operating expenses, then I would say, yeah, absolutely, let's not try to shoot for more. However, it's your decision to do so, and we would be fine if you went with the low or if you went with the high. It's just a matter of, do you wanna leave any money on the table? Or do we take the, you know, the opportunity to perhaps get more than the 1.9 that we were predicting for budgets? And again, a budget is an estimate, we'll do our very best at what we're gonna get.
What Mia was talking about earlier, she thought the valuation would be going up.
Oh, it will be for the next couple of years probably.
But even now, this year, she's saying was gonna go higher.
Oh, absolutely,
So
especially
we'll
since
still
she's catching
collect-
things and putting it on the tax roll, yeah.
But that won't happen for another 2 years. But she's thinking the valuation is going higher this year, I thought, that what you have to turn in, correct?
Right, yeah, it's a flowing number, it's not, you're not gonna.
So we'll get more tax
Right.
revenue because of that number, correct? Because if that goes up, we'll get more tax revenue, correct? So,
Essentially speaking.
yeah, so even though if we keep this low, if yet this year her valuation goes up, then we'll get more tax money.
Okay, do you expect your valuations to go up?
She just said earlier today that,
You got $2 million.
no, that isn't, that's, she found, that won't be
Right.
for 2
We
years.
don't know what that, right.
The EAV number is always gonna be a targeted number, it's not a specific amount, it's gonna go up and down dependent on, and correct me if I'm wrong, the evaluations and the sales of properties, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Right, but you have to take into account people will appeal, so the numbers will come down, but Illinois Department of Revenue has a sales ratio study, and all this information is available on their website if you're wanting to learn more about it. So they look at the sales from 3 years and project a median dollar amount for sales. And they want us to hit 33 1/3% of that sale amount as a whole. And when we aren't doing that based on the sales ratio studies that they do, that's where the multipliers come in and then they dictate. So when it's the county put a multiplier on, I'm only doing that to get to the 33 1/3 that they're wanting. Right now, we're looking at, my rough numbers were 4.2% is what they were wanting an increase from last year's EAB for our new EAB to be as a whole for the county, because we're that low on where our assessed values are right now. So my assessed values will go up because of that. And different townships will go differently. You know, Middleport's gonna get hit the hardest because there's so lack of uniform without a township assessment. There's various reasons why, but
But earlier today, you said the number on our report you gave us of the high, medium, and low. You said that number, even the high was going up.
right
This
now,
year.
based on the equalization I just put on, it went up.
To what?
Yes. Right now where I'm at is 765,175,172 is the rate setting EAV right now with all the equalization. But Illinois Department of Revenue hasn't approved
Right.
my calculations yet either. I could not be right.
So my point is even if we accept the low, our tax revenue will still be increased this year
Should.
because of that number going higher than even the low. That makes sense.
It does.
So we can get by saying, let's do the low. Now, it means we may not get all of it, but that's all. Right?
Bear in mind also that this is an issue that will be resolved finally a week from today. And so I think it's important that everybody here understand what's involved because there's likely to be some extensive discussions. When this, you've got 16 people considering the whole matter. So if we're gonna do it one way or another, we need to be somewhat unified or understanding what we're recommending, whether it's low, medium, or high. There's gonna be a lot of discussion about it. You know, in the past, like Jed pointed out, when we always did the high, there were no issues and everybody said, well, we've done this the same every year, there's no problem, so everybody says, good, rubber stamp it, and away we go. That's not the case this year, so that means it's gonna be a lot of discussion about it. Unfortunately, you're looking at the guy that has to moderate the discussion, which is a challenge in itself sometimes as well, but that's not the purpose of my comments. I think it's important that we understand what we're talking about here, and, you know, if we wanna go with the low, maybe that's a good thing to do. It's not gonna bankrupt us, maybe we'll learn something by doing that. On the other hand, maybe if we feel like we gotta be safe and wanna go out, personally, in my mind, it's either the low or the high. I don't think the medium has got any real value to it. And you can see from the numbers that Doug has given you, you can see how much money you're talking about, really, the difference. As far as the general fund is concerned, between the low and the high is $108,000. It's nothing to sniff at, but then again, comparing it to a $2 million levy, that's 5%.
Just another thing the news media doesn't have to publicize and make a big deal out of.
Right.
But we know no matter what, the following year, we're gonna have to go. We can have no choice.
We'll have to consider it.
Everything she's got going on, John and I have spoken, there's just, I know it's gonna happen. I know why you're saying this, I get it, I agree with it. I just don't know.
We didn't ask Brianna what the other places are doing on levies then too. At the schools and that.
Steve,
I know
what?
it's scary.
The only thing I'm gonna say, I mean, John mentioned that, like at Fort County, there's the school board is gonna have more money.
Right.
Okay, and then, if you rely on sales tax, that has to go before the voting public, is that correct? In most cases, to increase the,
Right, it depends on
Yeah.
the tax. Our public safety tax is already authorized at 0.5%, and we're only levying a quarter of 1%. So we've got that margin that we could go ahead with if we wish. If we wanna go more than that, then we have to do a referendum.
yeah, or what, the only thing that I was gonna say was that like, especially school board referendums, they have a history of failure a lot of times, so you can't rely on getting money.
No.
No, and it's likely the one in Ford County won't pass, I
Yeah.
guess. I mean, I don't know, but I'm just saying that's what they're proposing.
That public safety tax is a tax on, included in sales tax, correct?
That's all it is, a tax on it.
So that means anybody who goes through the county and stops at Pence's and picks up something there to eat, they pay that public sales I think they pay the safety tax, I don't know, maybe on food you don't.
Still gonna
We
be
like to get a
expensive.
lot of people from outside the county to come and shop here, but we also like our own people to shop here.
I agree totally with you, but at least we're asking other people, if we consider, if the finance committee would consider upping that to the 0.5%.
We wanna make this county a shopping mecca.
Yeah.
Good luck. We don't even have a shopping center, so.
How much do you know off the top of your head, Jill, how much that safety tax brings in a year, roughly?
Approximately, we were comfortable at the 425,000
So if we
mark.
double it, we bring in another $420,000 a year.
We can even do like we were talking about with the treasurer a while ago to make sure everybody that buys online is paying the right sales tax. We might be surprised how much more we'll get. You know, when I brought that up to Jill, she went on her phone and she started looking at some stuff she bought. She says, oh my goodness, they only charged me 6 1/4.
Right.
So
I'm gonna send it
I
myself.
think if we do the same thing and bring that information back, it might be very revealing. Amazon may be doing it right, but Apple, I know Apple is not, because I just bought stuff from Apple and they only charge 6 1/4.
Right.
So we lost 1/4% right there. And there's gotta be a lot of other people that you can buy from online that may be doing the same thing.
I don't know if a lot of citizens are gonna come forward saying that they owe more money.
Right.
But, yeah. Well, we don't have to do anything, and what we've done is done. So, I mean, there isn't really a question today that has to be answered. If we leave it alone, then it comes back to the board next week on what they want to do.
It is, right, and it is on the agenda for the finance committee to have a discussion of this. There'll also be something at the hearing, I would encourage Doug to make a presentation on this at the hearing, at the truth and taxation hearing.
That's just gonna make everybody have a black eye that's on the county board.
Not necessarily.
If you say, we can get by with the 104, but we're gonna go ahead and charge the 108 for your landowners here, how is that not gonna give us a black eye?
You're recommending that we reverse course and go to the 104.
Yeah, but this committee just didn't do it. So therefore, why would we recommend, yeah.
The minutes of this meeting, the minutes of the finance committee, the minutes of the tax and truth taxing hearing will all be presented at the board meeting a week from today.
Right, yeah,
It'll be up to the board to make a final decision.
right. Yeah, that's true.
And that's what I'm saying, I know there'll be an extensive discussion, because we'll have a lot of different ideas, a lot of questions, which is fine.
Well, let's just table it.
But if we had some direction or a consensus of opinion here, I think it would be better.
Right.
If you don't wanna do that, that's fine too. I know it's time consuming at times, but the only way we make real progress, I think, is to explore all avenues and discuss them in detail and make sure we understand what we're doing, because otherwise we're just shooting blind and that doesn't produce good results. So I personally don't mind the discussions we're having, I think they're productive and they're good.
What I don't like about this is we're just projecting. You know where I'm stating that.
Yeah.
We also are projecting that we think that MIA is gonna bring in more money. We also are projecting that the safety money will be there. That all makes me nervous hearing projections and not where it should be. I'm actually okay with it going low. Because it's only 108,000. I'm okay with that. But when it gets larger than that, then I'm getting a little years down the road, I'm not talking this one time. 108,000 isn't gonna break the bank, but I'm also,
we're not gonna get the 1.9. We're gonna have a whole bunch of and ifs, but or ors of people not paying their taxes. And I don't know where we're gonna end up, because it might not be 1.9, it might be way less, it could be, possibly.
Oh, it will be less than 1.8.
Right.
We've never reached the amount like that we levy. It's always less, because there's always people that don't pay. There's always people that appeal, and if the board of review agrees with their appeal and lowers their taxes, so I mean, you're never
I know.
gonna get everything.
We really don't know if what Mia's gonna do is gonna raise or lower anything, but all I know is, once we do it, then we know everybody's at the proper rate.
This is one of the reasons why Jill was hoping to get the amount of the third distribution from the treasurer, so that we'd be able to see what we've experienced in the past year versus what we levied and what we collected. Well, we don't have those numbers, so we don't have that ability to compare that.
What do you think, John? Agree to disagree? And we'll just go ahead and,
I would think, leave it at the high amount, and if it comes out, you have a big excess above and beyond what you needed to balance it out. Somebody, I can't remember who that was, but somebody mentioned a rainy day fund, and it was way below what it should be. So put it into that, and that would come up to that. I mean, it's not that the money's gonna be wasted. But I think it'd be much easier to have the truth of taxation here than it would be to try to get a
What you're saying, Steve, is something that pretty much happens every year, because every year, in my experience, we've never gone over the budget. We've always had an excess every year, and that excess goes into the general fund.
No, I understand
If
that.
you were a department head and we gave you a budget of $1 million, and you spent $950,000, that $50,000, you don't get to keep that. It goes into the general fund, and your budget for the next year is what you're operating on. And that's the reason that we have seen a general increase in the average balance in the general fund for the past, 10 years or so. Which is a good thing, because our costs keep going up, and if that's a rainy day fund, the cost fund the operation of the county keeps going up, so you have to have that increase.
Make a motion, we adjourn.
we're not there.
No second.
What you wanna make right now?
Huh?
Is that what you wanna make?
Well, yeah, I'm respectful of everybody's opinions. I just wanted to bring it to the attention and talk about it, discuss it. We can still keep the high, that's fine. I know that we can always spend, no matter how much money we get, we can always spend it. And so, but I think the whole board needs to be aware of, we gotta pay our people, but we have to watch our expenses, and we have to think of ways to generate money that's fair beyond what the citizens of Iroquois County can afford themselves. Enough of the speech.
Can I finish with old business, new business first?
We can do that if you want.
I appreciate that. So on the levy, we're just going to table it? Is that okay with you?
We have to approve the levy at the meeting next Tuesday at the latest.
But this committee has already voted last month to accept the high number, so if we don't do anything, that's what's happening, correct?
That's what triggered the truth in taxation hearing, yes, but the final approval of the levy is done at the December meeting. And we have to do it then, just like we had to approve the budget last month. We can't operate without it.
So you were saying, yes, you are correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, okay. Any old business? Any new business? All right, now we'll take that first motion. See, I had to say.
I forgot.
All right,
Yes.
all fair side.
I
All opposed, same sign, all.
appreciate all the work you put in on that. No, really.